So on that note, this is a question for everyone. Do you think in general that art collecting today is becoming more about financial investment rather than supporting artists, art, and the art ecosystem? Like, is it becoming more similar to buying artworks as an asset or even luxury buying? What are your thoughts on this? Anybody?
Okay, let me say that the situation in Japan, of course, for some people, as you said, the purpose is fun as well as for investment that is happening. But the majority of the collectors I know, in their case, just they acquire because of their interests, not for investment. But I think there was one question. One of the questions listed is that says the in Japan there are some young generation collectors, and as far as I know, they buy and they sell and they kind of say, hey, you know how much I made, so forth, so forth. That is happening, but it's a small portion of the collectors. But as a news media, they take it kind of it's a big thing. Of course, as a news, maybe it's a big thing, but of course I'm not the representative the whole collectors of Japan, but it's to a certain extent maybe a hype, but that's okay. That's okay. That happens. And I welcome that kind of collection by the young generation because at the end, who knows? You know, they may be in 5 years, 10 years, maybe a serious collectors. They may spend the $500,000, $1 million, whatever it is. I welcome.
Yeah. Ning, you want to talk a bit about this?
I mean, it takes there are many different types of players and many different agents in the art world. And that's what makes it so interesting and so colorful. So I wouldn't dismiss one collector over another. And I think it's also very personal where your boundaries are, because, and I'm just saying this just very, very candidly or off the cuff. Because let's say 50,000, it could be a lot to somebody, and it can be not a lot to somebody else. So what is investment value? Sorry, my throat's a little bit itchy.
No, it's okay. Kevin, do you want to take this? Maybe talk a bit about this particular topic?
About people buying work as an investment?
Yes, so basically there's a lot of discourse about these two specific trends in collecting. So one is that there are more collectors buying art as solely an asset or an investment. And then there's the other trend of collecting that's been around, that's all about, buying art to support artists, to build relationships, to support the art scene or the art ecosystem. So there's been a lot of emphasis and talk about how the former trend is happening more than the latter. So what are your thoughts on this?
I think people will always find an interesting way to put their money, especially with the recession. And now, if you look at the stocks, they're downtrending, and people are talking about we're entering in a recessionary zone, and they're alternative assets are kind of the buzzword right now. You look at crypto, that's down. So, people are always looking for opportunities to kind of store their wealth. And I think art has been a hot topic because I think young people don't want to put their money in a fund or, or an ETF. That's kind of boring, especially with some of the people that I talk to that are younger, that have family offices, or they have investment bankers. That stuff doesn't really tickle their fancy. But if you talk about, parking it with vintage whiskeys or nice cars or cigars. These things I think are hot topics right now because people are like, why should I put money in something that's intangible and then I lose money? Maybe I should put it in something that I actually get to enjoy. And so I think that's a good idea to think about. And I also think that part of the reason why people think that collecting art is so fun is that there's value to it, so if there wasn't value to it, then people wouldn't be taking good care of it, things would just get disposed as garbage. So putting a value to it just makes people cherish it a bit more. Obviously there's people that are there's all types of different people that are collecting for all types of different reasons, but that's also why the art world is so complicated and so fun. And the more you learn about it, the more you realize you actually don't know anything. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. Jay, would you like to add?
Yeah, just like Kevin said, I definitely agree with them. And collectors all have different reasons. They have so many reasons to build up their collection. Some of them, they collect art for investment, and some for a trophy, and some to decorate their houses, places, and some to support the artists. It's hard to say what's right and what's wrong, but I see many newbie collectors see art only as an investment. And I agree that art can be a good investment in some ways, in some cases, but and art definitely have values to it, and they are all expensive. Art is crazy expensive. But in my opinion, this is just my opinion, so anyone can disagree with me about it, but thinking art only as an investment is kind of dangerous. It could be a reason, but it shouldn't be the only reason to collect art, which that's my opinion. And it could be a better investment if the person loves art and they collect art and they buy art and they hang it in their house. And there could be a good result after that, but shouldn't be the only reason to collect art. That's just.
If I could just elaborate on what Jay shared, I read a quote somewhere which I thought was very well said. This is something like, if you buy and sell art, yes, you make money, but if you collect art with passion and knowledge, you create wealth. So yeah, everybody collects or acquires art for different reasons, but I think if you collect art with drive, with passion, and you have the ability to hold the works, so hopefully you don't have to liquidate, you don't have to cash out, you don't have to sell for whatever reason, and you have a good eye, in the long run you'll probably do quite well. Yeah,
that's true. So I think Koji mentioned this earlier a bit as well. So everyone's talking about the rise of young collectors in Asia, which some of you are clearly part of this phenomenon. And I think I want to touch on what Jay said about his approach towards collecting, where he thinks that solely viewing art as an investment might be dangerous. So maybe on that note, Jay, you want to talk a bit about what you think about the young collectors of your generation in South Korea. What kind of strengths or flaws in their collecting practice or mindsets do you think? What do you think are their strengths and flaws in their collecting practice, and how do you think that your generation or this new generation of young collectors in Korea will impact the country's art market and art scene in the next few years, so to speak?
So, in my opinion, collectors, they should collect what they want, what they like. That should be their first standard to pick their build up their collection. And I definitely do some research on artists and on galleries too. If before collecting any works. But I never, it's kind of dangerous to say never, but I try not to collect artworks that I think that I really don't love with, because, you know, just Kevin mentioned previously, people change with their taste and what they like. And so a few years later, you see something, you might not like it anymore, but you're not going to regret having that artwork, because at that time in the past, you loved the work collected. But if a collector collects artwork based on others' opinion, advisors or friends or galleries, based on their opinion, then they definitely gonna regret after years. So first thing they need to think about is what they, and then definitely they need to do some research on each artist, each galleries they like and they want to communicate with. And yeah, and for some young collectors, I don't know about in China or in Japan or in Hong Kong, but in Singapore, but in Korea, I see a lot of young collectors kind of depend on others' opinion. Not everybody, but some of them. And yeah, I try to, you know, always, if someone asks me how I build up my, then I tell them that, you know, you should buy something that you not, but you definitely need to study. You definitely need to research on artists, galleries. Yeah.
Anyone else want to add to this?
Yeah, I do.